Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 116 Basic AutoCAD in our weekly Zoom meeting. This week we have released Module 8. Module 8 is on utility commands, obtaining information about the drawings. And basically it's analyzing drawings for things like measurements to make sure everything fits in the room, to make things can go sure they fit through the doors. We've all If you haven't had that experience, it's not fun. I know I've had some machines that people have wanted to deliver here, and we had to check to see if they fit in the elevator and see if we have enough room for them. So you do a lot of analyzing, and this is a good module to work through. And as we look at it, we also have mechanical drawings that we can analyze as well. And so when we look at these mechanical drawings, we can analyze things like the area, circumference, and the properties for those. And so we have two drawings. You're to choose one of them. You can choose either this architectural drawing, or you can choose this mechanical drawing. And we have videos for those exercises. And so this was a video that was created over the summer. So it's a rerun, but it's a good rerun. If we take a look at it.
Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And as you can see, Al's in San Diego.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, yes. I forgot. Alan gets around. I was somewhere tropical at that point. And that's our plan. We plan to have so many different virtual backgrounds that it'll be like, where's Waldo? We can broadcast from anywhere. So what this video shows you how to do is how to analyze the areas for the rooms. And then there's questions from these AutoCAD certification exams, because what they do is they don't grade your drawings, they grade the calculations that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
sorry about that, Joe.
No, I like it when people just talk right at the same time. It actually works better that way than being polite. So anytime, go right ahead, just keep going.
I was going to ask him about the, flooring, some kind of flooring you might have, or ceiling tiles, or painting, or whatever the case be, is the best way to do this.
Exactly. So if I take a look at my drawing that I created, and I'm going to just get my desktop set up the way I like it. I'm back at work, and so my computer needs to be reconfigured. If I want this to be a black background, I right click, I go to options, excuse me, a white background, display, colors, and I'll change the 2D model space from this color to this color. I enclose and okay it. And I typically like that background because paper space has the same color background, so the lines show up better.
Especially when you make viewports, the viewports match.
And then if we look at how this works, what you're to do is to draw the floor plan. It's going to take you quite a bit of work, not a ton of work, but it's not supposed to be super easy. And then we can measure things like distance and area. We'll start with area. And so what we do is we use object snap, and we just chain around the inside elements of the room. You can be as precise as you want. Better to be more precise than not to have enough material. Typically, when I would go through and estimate things like this, would be an example of we'd want to do flooring for it. And so I go through and chain through the room, then I hit enter. And then I can see that my area calculation says that it's 119 square feet. I'm not sure why I've got 104 on here. It's probably because it didn't include the closet. So if I was to redo that, I can hit enter, and then I can just right click and repeat the command. and I just can't quite get it to work. So I'm just going to go back here and get it. And if I try it without the closet, let's see if I do better with it. And so, yes, 104. So this note should be without
Does not include closet space.
And so that's essentially how this exercise plays out. And then if we come back here to our main splash page, the video is here. If we look at our book objectives, it's a little blurry, or it's just me not having enough coffee. Measure distance, radius, diameter, angles, and area. List the data about a single point. Determine drawing status. Determine the amount of time spent on a drawing session. Perform calculations and using compare commands. So one thing that I do like to do when I work with AutoCAD, I've been working on it for so long, is that I like to try to find out when I made the drawing. And so there's a command called time. And if you type in time and hit enter, hopefully, not a good sign.
Got to click on the drawing first, then hit it.
There it goes. It'll tell you when the drawing was created. I'm going to have to move my Zoom stuff. Let me see if there's anybody I'm missing from the room. Nope, I haven't locked anybody out. So it tells me how long I've had this drawing open. It'll show me if I hit the F2 key when the drawing was created. So this drawing was created in 2020 on Sunday, July 19th. Some of my drawings have a little bit more, what do they call it? Retro now? That's the cool word for it, Al?
Antique.
So if I go time on this one, this drawing was created, quite a while ago. This was created Monday, June 16th, 2008. And so these are what are called utility commands. And if we wanted to go through and analyze this drawing, again, we want you to be able to draw the objects and then to be able to go through and analyze it. And so if I look at let's go back here before we do that at the home page. Here's if I sign in. There we are. And let's make it bigger. So as we go through and we look at the objective, this is the textbook, and I wasn't really planning on going through that. What I wanted to do was to show where the directions are. And so we have the drawings, and you can create the drawings from the measurements. But we also have this PDF here. And that's our drawing, so that's the same. Let's take a look at this one. This is what I'm looking for. And so here's the instructions. Start a new drawing called Plan 1, change from decimal units to architectural units, and then keep all the rest of the default units. And so with this drawing, you just need to use architectural units and draw it per the size measurements that are given. And that's pretty straightforward. I would start off by drawing the length and the height. And so it's 24.9 tall by 24 feet 5 wide. And it says all wall thicknesses are 4 inches. And so you draw the exterior and then you offset to the interior 4 inches. Switching back to our next one. This is more information on how to calculate out those areas. And let me go and find where the directions are for the mechanical. The directions for the mechanical we'll post on the splash page, but it should be in content module 8. And so let's see here. Let's see, here's gasket. Let's see what the PDF one is. Not that one.
The one back, please.
Here it is. I'm going to download this and I'll put that in the splash page. But this one's a little trickier in the fact that it has you, sorry, had to decline, has you set up the location of the center coordinate for this rectangle. And so it has you set up the units as decimal in 2 decimal places of accuracy. And then start by locating the center of the 6 by 3 inch rectangle at coordinates 4.75. So I can analyze the one that I have here. And the way that I could do that would be to just draw a line from the corners. And so if I go from this corner, and I have to turn off my snap to this corner, and then if I repeat the line command, and then if I go here to ID point, it's under utility ID point, this point right here is 4.75. And so that's the magic number. That's where this center point needs to be for these calculations to work out. And so the total surface area of this gasket with all 10 holes removed is closest to. And here's what we'll do. Since you guys showed up this morning, we won't make you draw these. We will secretly post them for you in the content section. So what I'm going to do, if you want, is to give you the drawing. And so I'm going to save this. Do the desktop, and it'll be called XX Lab 88B. And I'll do the same for the plan. And this will be called we'll stay consistent. We'll call it XX-Lab 8A. And I'm going to put that on my desktop also. And so I will post these now for you in this area of the D2L. So let me come back here, and I'm going to just dial it back to lab number 8. And then I will put an area called student files. And so it'll be the last thing on the list. And then I'll go to my Explorer. See if I can sort through this array of windows all over my computer screen. Let's sort by date. And then I'm going to take these 2 labs and I'm going to drop them right into this area. So 8A, whoops. Let's do them in order for my, one more time. Goes. And then I'll go and grab 8B. Okay, so students can download these inquiry problems and then just complete the inquiry questions. And so as we look at these inquiry questions, I will walk you through that. And so If I come up here to this gasket plan right here and I download that,
It's on, Joe. It's on the splash page already.
I know, I just want the questions.
It is on the splash page now.
Okay,
I put it there.
awesome. So with the questions now, we'll look at the first one. So once you download the gasket file from the student area there, refer to the gasket drawing above, the total surface area of the gasket with the rectangle and all 10 holes removed. All right, so this is a little tricky. Let me see if I can make everything work. So I'm going to switch over to my gasket drawing. It's fighting me all the way today. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my dimension and my centerline layers. Centerline layer, turn it off. Dimension layer, turn it off. And then I'll make layer 0 active, because if you're working on a layer that's not on, it's like drawing in a room with the lights off. You can't see anything. So the first thing you have to do to be able to analyze these is you have to link all the geometry. And to do that, you'll make a region. And so I'm going to say over here, region. And so there it is, region. And I'll just put a box around everything. And everything that's connected, you see it changed the layer, is now a boundary shape. With boundary shapes, we can analyze them by going to the measure command, and we can say measure area. And then what we'll do is we'll hit down arrow and we'll say add area, down arrow, object, and we click on the perimeter. And then we hit enter. And then we hit down arrow and we say subtract area, down arrow, object. And then every area from there will be subtracted, and you'll see that it turns brown. Only click on it one time or it'll double subtract these whole features. And then once I get that value, it says total area 21.5437. So I can come over here and I can get the number closest. And so the number closest is E, 21.54. And what I could have done or should have done was to change the decimal places to display to 2 decimal places of accuracy. And I'll show you how to do that. But the first one is E. So I'll come over here, I'll hit enter, I'll hit escape. If you want, you can copy and paste that information. So if I hit F2, I can go through and I can copy that. And then if I come back here, I'll bail out of it by hitting escape, Control V, and paste it. And that's my first answer. And then I'm just going to hit escape. And I would put total area, and then I would say 1 is E. So you can also come in here, double click on this, 1 period E. And that's that. If we look at the next question, let's see if I can find it. Here we are. There we go. The distance from the center of arc A to the center of arc B is closest to. And so what we have to do here is we have to make this big enough that we can find A to B. So A is this arc area here, and B is this arc area here. And so they're saying from the center of A to the center of B, what's the distance? So you could just put a measurement there. You could just put a dimension if you wanted to. Quickest way would be to just go in here and say, give me a linear dimension using an object snap set for center. Hover, acquire, and see this one didn't work because it should be aligned. and it's 6.67, which is B. And so we can come in here and I can double click on this, go to the end here and say 2B. And then if we want to do C, we'll do them all. We'll just get this done today, and I'll try to speed up a little bit. So C, the length of arc segment C is closest to. And so here we are, here's C, and what we're asking for is the length of the arc. And so what we have to do to work on this one is we have to deconstruct our region because it thinks it's all one piece. So we have to explode it. And then when we click on it, we can get the properties for it. So we can right click and select properties. And then we can get our arc length. And the arc length is 3.53. And so if we take a look at that, the answer is D, 3.53. So we can come back here, close this out, double click, D equals 3.53. Do 4. As we look at question number 4, the absolute coordinate value of the center of the 0.75 radius arc D. I think the hardest part is just reading these and understanding what they're asking for. So we're going to use a command called ID point, and what it wants to know is the center at D. And so we'll use ID point, and here is D, so it's this point right here. So we'll say ID point, and so we go to the Home tab. And then for some reason, it's kind of not giving me anything. There it goes. ID point, and I'll get the center right there. And so it tells me that that's X 4.83, Y 2.5. So it's A. So we'll come back here, A. And my numbers aren't going to stick in my head all day today, so I'm not going to. All right. 5, the angle formed in the XY plane from the center of the 0.75 arc D to the center of arc A. And so this would be a distance command to be able to get that. And how do you know that? It's not that easy to know unless you actually attend the class. And so that's why I'm going through this. And so we'll use the distance command. We'll come back here to Home. And my computer's kind of slowing down because it knows I'm in a video, I imagine. And maybe I just need to bail out of it. There it is. I have to finish my text command. And so we'll go back to distance, and it was from the center here to the center here. And then here it is, angle in the XY plane 120. So we come back here. And if I was you guys, I'd be writing these numbers down. C. So 5 is C. C. And then if we look at 6, the delta XY distance from the intersection at E to the midpoint of line F. All right, so what they're saying, the intersection of E, they're saying from this center line or the quadrant from E to the midpoint at F. So this is a good OSNAP exercise. And what they're asking for again is a distance command. And so we come back here and I click out of this, and then I go back to my distance command, and I'm going to go from the quadrant. Shift right mouse click did that. Quadrant here to the midpoint here. And it's telling me that the delta XY position is minus 4.5 minus 3.75. And so I can see that right here. If I want to, what I can do is I can hit the F2 key, and then I can say right here, I can copy this, Control C, double click in here, Control V, and the answer for that then would be minus 4 minus 3.75 D. And so I can come back here and say D. And then the last question, I'm going to leave for you guys to do on your own. Last question is a little tricky. I won't answer it for you, but I will show you how to do that. And so the last question asks you to change the size of it by scaling the inside rectangle 0.83 and then to go through and recalculate the area. So to do that, you would go here, and the first thing you would do is to bail out of your text command. And then what we would do here is we would scale this. And so we'd say scale, and we would scale this from the midpoint here. And then we type in the value, 0.83, enter. Then we come back and we have to put this back together because we exploded it. So we'd say region, and we would region it. And then we go back and calculate the area by selecting area. And then we go down, add area. And I don't think we have to do add off the top, but we can just hit this one. So we go like that. And then we say enter. And then we go and we say down area, arrow, subtract area, down arrow, object, and we will then subtract these. And voila, we have our new value. Okay, and it looks like we're pretty good. It's one of those 4 commands, one of those 4 values on here. And that completes how to create and answer these analysis questions. And so with that, I'm going to go through and save this drawing. You'll come back here. You'll say save as. As far as the dimensions and things like that, you can leave them off. You don't have to put them back on. When you save it, put your own initials on it. That's why we have the X's there. It's kind of like a placeholder. And then insert the drawing into the assignments folder. And so on our main splash page here, let's bring this up, come back here to our assignments tab, and we'll drop that in the module 8 area. Module 8 is due next week. So most of you guys have everything you need to be able to complete that. And I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to open things up for questions. One last thing before we do, keep an eye on the outline of topics. After we go through module 8, we're going to start getting ready for the final exam. Typically, we have 10 modules. And so we will release module 10 as well. I think we will probably skip module 9. We'll see how that goes, but our plan is to go up to module 10 and then to complete our final exam. All right, so that ends this recording. I'm going to stop the recording and open things up for questions.